Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Be Victorious. It's me, Dr. Tori. I can be found on all social media platforms, everywhere. The exciting thing for me is that we can also be found on all podcast streams. So make sure you tune in, listen to the discussions, gather some information, educate yourself, and understand this knowledge we're about to drop because everyone has a story. Now, here in episode 13, it's been 13 episodes. That means everyone has a story. And this story is actually going to be similar to everyone else's story, just like all the other stories. I have Miss Tiana Buford. She is here to share her story about her adverse childhood experiences, and it's been my pleasure. The interesting thing is, me and Tiana met on a live. She was extremely interested after she found out her information on adverse childhood experiences, and we've been connected ever since. And so, Tiana, if you're there, go ahead and come on and join us. Tiana!
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yay! It's been my pleasure. What I love about you is that we actually share in the same sentiment. So tell people who you are and how we met. That'll be fun.
Well, I am Tiana Buford. I am an educator, have been an educator for 9 years now. I am an adult with ADHD. I am a mother. And we met via Instagram Live, where you and I forgot who the live was with.
It was Miss
But
Queen.
it was yes, and it was so informative and so just engaging. And that's when I actually heard the term ACEs for the first time. And I've heard so much about traumatic childhood experiences, but just to hear about that adverse childhood experiences, really had, a light bulb went off in my head. So that's how we met on that live. And, I'm so grateful that I just went ahead and joined it.
I'm glad you did too. I think as educators, it's important for people to understand not only about adverse childhood experiences, but that we can move on and we can do the things we need now that we know what it is. We know how to address it as well. So
yeah.
I commend you and thank you so much for being in education because you're leading by example. You're letting your students know it's okay to have ADHD.
Yes.
It's okay to have adverse childhood experiences. And the fact that they're paired together, I thank you so much for following up and doing your research and supporting me. So that's why you're here, because you have a story.
Yes, of course. Thank you again for having me.
No problem. Now, you did receive the questions, right?
I did.
And so I'm going to ask any question that's on here. Feel comfortable. Let's be clear. This is just a discussion between me and you. Of course, it's going to be shared with the world, but remember, you are advocating for those with ADHD. And guess what? Somebody's going to listen. Somebody's going to say, hey, that story sounds familiar to me. And then that's us letting people know that it's okay to heal. It's okay to live. It's okay to be, And so I'll thank you again. So tell me about ACEs.
So let's see. I'm no expert. I'm no expert with ACEs. But what I can say about it, the adverse childhood experiences, is just what I experienced, and just some things that it was experienced in childhood may be less, may not be as favorable as other things. And that's, to me, what I see ACEs as. It's just things that happen in your childhood that you really had no control over, or we had no control over, because some things can happen, you're 3, 4, 5 years old, you have no control over that. But what we do have control over, something I'm starting to learn now, is how we move forward from that. Right. So, okay, so I see I've had this adverse childhood experience. What can I do to now move forward?
Very good.
So that's the biggest thing that I'm learning with it right now. And as I teach and as I raise my child, and research more about it, I'm sure that I'll, have more experience with it on the research side.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you brought in as an educator and as a mom. You know what I mean? Because as an educator, what do you say to those students now that you know about adverse childhood experiences? What do you say? How do you approach them?
First, always let them know. I love saying, just starting off with, your feelings are valid. Just want to make sure that everyone, that they know that when you come to me, your feelings are valid, no matter how small, no matter how big. And that's what I tell people all the time. Sometimes we think, oh, they're just overreacting, but then we have to kind of put ourselves in the shoes of the children. And that's what I do too. You want to put yourself in the shoes of the children and say, it may be small to us, but to them, the fact that, let's say for instance, their favorite pencil broke in half. Oh, that's it for them for the day. That's it for them. Because to us, it's just, oh, this pencil broke in half. But to them, it may be, oh, my dad got me this pencil, or my grandma bought me this pencil, or this is the only pencil we have. So just really telling the students, your feelings are valid. And then from there, now, how can we move forward? What
Right.
can we do, to not diminish your feelings? But sometimes, being in a school setting, sometimes we have to continue.
Right.
Um, we just have to continue, but just being that listening ear for the students, and then being able to let them know, I've been there, and
Mhm.
let them know that, even though you see me up here as, you see me up here, you see me as your teacher, I've had things happen as well.
Mhm.
And, it happens, and it's okay.
I bet you have the best rapport with your students too. What grade do you teach?
I try to, so thank you. So I have been all over the place. So this past school year, I taught second grade. This
Uh,
upcoming school year, I will be teaching fifth grade.
Really?
Yes.
Now, I will share with you, I took a position as the IEP administrator. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have been in school for the past 2 days. And
Uh-huh.
I taught 18 years in high school. So I did everything. So elementary is a little different for me. But
Mhm.
what I love being in this position is that I can identify not only adverse childhood experiences, but special education children. I'm a special education teacher. And to see 5-year-old students like that can't even say their name and do this early
Yeah.
is great for me, because again, for 18 years, I got them when they were in the ninth grade. And it's like, how did they miss that
Yeah.
memo? You know what I mean? So I'm really excited to be in the position that I'm in. What do you do when you have that kid that you may think or believe that ACEs might be an issue?
What do I do? So, and that happens. It happens often. I often say, I ever since I started teaching, I always get the students that just need a little extra love.
That's
That
it.
that's what they just need a little extra.
That's
Um,
it.
and that's just what it is. I always go into it as, what type of teacher would I want my own child to have, first
Yeah.
of all.
Mhm.
So being a mom has helped me in that manner. Even before I was a mother, I was always think, if I was to have a child, what type of teacher would I want my child to have?
Say, for example, you had a student that had adverse childhood experiences, or you could tell there was
Okay.
something there that you can tell. Because I'll be honest, when I worked at elementary school for a year, and I actually have some stories of students that was like, "Yeah, my dad is a drunk. He used to beat my mom all the time," and it's like,
So
okay,
what? So with the and it's like, I can relate to you with that, because some of these stories, they say it and it's so normal to them, and they're just saying it like, yeah, that's what happened. And I'm just looking around like, okay,
uh-huh.
because it's so normalized. So just loving on the students. And then on, loving them, but also being firm with them as well. So for example, I had one student who the first day of school, he walked in, his shoulders was slouched down, his back was all crunched over. And I said, yep, that's gonna be my one right there. That's my one. And from day one, when he first walked in, we're very loving. I was like, you need to stand up straight, first of all. Like, so then that, we just started there. Like, and I let him know. I said, I don't want you, because it's second grade, I don't want you to get old and walk like a question mark. And he thought it was so funny. So I just try to, one, love them, and then two, be firm with them, also loving as well. And then try to, make them laugh, make them smile any type of way. As soon as you make them laugh once, that's it. You got them.
Right. Now, you made a statement. You actually have been diagnosed with ADHD.
I have been, yes.
When did you find out about that?
When was I officially diagnosed? I was officially diagnosed at the big age of 27.
Wow.
I knew that something was not right at about the age of 16, 17.
Okay.
Because just different things that I was going through within my childhood, I'm like, something does not seem right. I never felt like I fit in any one group, which then caused me to try to blend in. And okay, so if this group is doing this, then I'm going to do that. But then I'm like, oh no. So then if this person's doing this, so I'm going to do that. So then I'm just trying to, blend in. At about 16, 17, I was telling my parents, my dad and stepmom, it's something that's just, something that's just not right. Something that's just not right. And I've always had such anxiety about me and such worry about me. But I was always dismissed as being a hypochondriac. I was dismissed as being dramatic, having Munchausen syndrome, everything but.
Right. Now, you just made mention of dad and stepmom.
Yes.
Is that who raised you?
So, yes. So my dad and stepmom, in hindsight, they did raise me. My mother was 15 years old when I was conceived, and she turned 16 in June, and I was born in September. So I did have, my mother was a teen mom. My dad was a couple years older. And I was with my mom for a couple of years of my life. I don't remember it.
Right.
But from stories I get, it just was not a good environment for me. My mom did the best that she could with what she had at the age that she was. So at about 4, my dad got full custody of me, and we were living with my grandparents. And I tell people sometimes that my dad and I was kind of raised like brother and sister. So it was my dad, my uncle, and my grandparents. So to my grandparents, I'm like their daughter. To this day, that's kind of how they see it. And I joke and say, they're getting a little older. So I'm like, do they really think I'm their daughter? So it's like,
Yeah.
So yes, and we were living there, and then my dad met my stepmother. They got married, and we moved from my grandmother and grandfather's house when I was about 10 or 11.
All aces.
Yep, that's what I'm starting to picture.
And I think people need to understand that adverse childhood experiences isn't a bad thing at all. That experience that you experience is an experience, but you had grandparents that came to fit in. Dad did the best that he could. When dad got a little older, he took his daughter, he got married, and here he is living happily ever after. Do you have a relationship with your mom?
So my mother is passed now. She actually passed away 5 years ago.
Okay, so
So we started to build a relationship. When I was younger, it was very difficult, because I didn't see her much,
Mhm.
and that stuck with me.
Mhm.
To this day, it really does stick with me.
Mhm.
I didn't see her much. She really wasn't in contact much. Um, and it was December of 2016
Mhm.
when she told me, the doctors found a lump. And then it was January of 20, no, it was December of 2013. And then it was January of 2014 when she called and said, it's cancer.
Mm, okay.
Um, so that's when we started to build a relationship. I
Right.
was in Florida at the time, get my graduate degree,
Mhm.
and she called the first day of classes, and I was in the bathroom, my first day of my master's program, crying in the bathroom, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I know I look crazy to these people, to these
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
Um, so we started to build a relationship, and I was visiting family. I was visiting in about 2016, and things kind of got bad. So I made the decision. It was probably a very impulsive decision. And now thinking about it, I probably would have just stayed in Florida, but it was a very impulsive decision to come back to Maryland.
Mhm.
Just to be with them and to kind of build a relationship with my mom's side of the family during the time. And then she passed June of 2017.
That was nice of you though. You know what I mean? Like to gather that relationship with the mom side of the family, knowing that, mom is passing away. So kudos to you for being number one, a cycle breaker,
Yes.
because that's exactly who you are.
Hmm.
And the fact that somebody else could have just said, okay, and have a great day, you actually decided to have a relationship or build a relationship with your mom during her last months. And I'm sure she loved it.
Yeah, yeah. And it was something that I had longed for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad that it took that.
Mm-hmm.
It took that, and I'm still sad and still kind of going through some things about that,
Mm-hmm.
because it was 3 years or 4 years,
Right.
but it was 27 something years that was just gone. So
Right. But at least you had that. And
yeah,
so you're taking the steps right now. You're a great mom. You have a great relationship with your dad and your stepmom. Your grandparents, are they still alive too?
they are. Hmm.
Yay. Do you get to see them often?
I do.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Mhm.
You got cycle breaker just written all over your face. The fact that you're back to school to get your you went back to school to get your master's.
Uh-huh.
The things that you're doing, like we talk about your daughter like often, like I love that she's a priority. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she has been since we've encountered and met. And so
Yeah,
I,
she
I
most
commend you.
is.
Yeah, I commend you on that. You wouldn't think, by no means, even with this conversation, all the things that you've brought up. Oh my God, you're such a strong woman. So continue to do what you're doing, and you're educating and you're leading. And so kudos to you for
Oh,
doing
thank you.
what you're
Thank
doing.
you.
Absolutely.
The cycle breaker is it's difficult. It's
Yeah,
difficult. There are days I'm like, really?
right.
Really?
Right. But
Um,
life is what we have to do. It is. And
mhm.
I'm telling you, your daughter's watching you, and I'm sure she's excited and happy about the woman that you are. So continue doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Quick question. So it was just you, right? Were you the only child? Do you have siblings?
Oh no, no. So we could be on here for days talking about just the dynamic between my stepmother and I, and just the whole dynamic. But I am the oldest. So on my mom's side, I have a younger brother.
Mhm.
And then on my dad's side, I have two younger brothers and a younger sister.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Any positive relationships, great relationships? Are you big sister? Do
Oh,
you have a relationship with them?
Yes, yes. So I am big sister. I am because I won't say so much older, but my sister and I have a 7-year age difference.
Mhm.
My one brother on my dad's side, we're 11 years apart, and then my other brother on my dad's side, we're 18 years apart, and then on my mom's side, my brother, we're 17 years apart. So it could be, yeah. So it's different, to say the least. My sister and I are the closest. And we have developed just such a great relationship. She has a different mother than I do. So we didn't grow up in the same household, but we do have a very good relationship. My two brothers on my dad's side also have different moms, and then my brother on my mom's side, we have different dads. So I don't have any full siblings,
Right.
but we
Not
don't.
anyone you actually grew up with. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no.
you grew up with dad. You
Yeah.
pretty much grew up with mom. So what I love about this story so far is that, you know what I mean? Like, you are really an only child growing up. And a lot of things that happen with adverse childhood experiences have siblings, have, favoritism, this type of thing, but you didn't have that. You were seriously an only child, honestly, growing up. And like you said, with your grandparents, they raised you and dad at the same time. So
Mhm.
that makes it a little bit different. Your adverse childhood experiences I'm sure are different than everybody else's. So you've
Yeah.
taken the test, right?
Say that, yes. Hmm.
What was your score?
So I was surprised. I got a 3.
And that's not bad at all. I think people have to understand your 3, and I can tell you now, based off of your story, yours is in household dysfunction. And
Hmm.
so the thing with the 10 questions, which I like the ACEs test just as an introduction, but ran into people that have had 10. I've ran into people that have had 0. It doesn't mean that you haven't had those experiences. What
Yeah.
it means is you have a highlight on certain areas. So there are people that have been sexually abused, that have been emotionally neglected, that have had household dysfunction. And then there's people that have household dysfunction, and
Hmm.
or
And
they have sexual abuse, and that's it. You see what I'm saying?
yep.
So understand it is not a grade. It just means that you only are in that household dysfunction area. And I'm sure the listeners know now, based off of everything that we've been talking about, you're definitely household dysfunction. I don't see you in the sexual abuse or the neglect, because you were supported by your grandparents,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So this is, again, a valuable lesson for everybody. It doesn't mean you have to have a 10. She has a 3, and her 3, you can hear it on the story that she just brought up, is it's household dysfunction, and that's understandable. I
Oh
am
yeah.
a 4, but I will tell you, depending on the day.
Oh, and that's what it is. Now, depending on the day, because this was quite the week. So it was looking about a 12 over here.
Okay, because it just depends. It just depends. I've
It,
went up to a 7 before. Now, I always bring up my daughter because my daughter was on episode 5, and she was like, I'm a 1. But let's be clear, I will admit to growing up, I thought that whoopings were okay. And I remember one of my daughters saying, I remember when you picked me up by my arm, I had on this red dress and you gave me a whooping. See, for her, that actually can be abuse.
yep. Yep. That was traumatic.
And so for her to bring it up is the reason why I stopped. I don't do it no
Hmm.
more. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
we think that our parents did it so it's okay. What I also don't do, and when I did an in-service at the school that I'm at, because like I said, I'm in elementary now. I
Uh-huh.
let the teachers know not to ask the kids, what's wrong with you? You're yelling. They're going to yell at you back.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Also going to not answer what's wrong with you. What's wrong with you? And so we have to have a different approach to our students based upon those experiences that we thought were okay back in our day. So let's be clear. Your 3 is A-okay. You still got it. We all have adverse childhood experiences, but you're doing something about it. When you
Yes.
found out about your ADHD, what did you do?
Well, first I was like, okay, so I'm not fully crazy. Um, so all right, so this is clinical. So I like wiped my brow a little bit, felt a little bit better about myself because just in all jokes aside, having undiagnosed ADHD can really take you for a whirlwind of just emotions and a whirlwind of just nonsense because you don't know what's going on with yourself. And then you can only see, okay, well, this is what the normal people are doing. This is what people I should say is saying that I should do, but I just can't do it. I just
Right.
can't do it. Something as simple as, all right, get up. I need to get up and take a shower. Some people say, okay, I got to get up and get in the shower. For me, it'll take me 27 times to say, all right, I'm going to take a shower. All right, I'm going to take a shower. But I'm still just sitting here, not taking a shower. And I'm like, okay, I got to get up and take a shower. But then it's like you're just frozen. So for me, actually getting that diagnosis just made me feel, okay, I feel better about myself because now it's like I can finally learn who I truly am.
Mhm.
Because when it was undiagnosed, I really was not sure who I was because I had all these troubles. But then you don't want to really speak too much about the troubles because you don't want everybody else to be like, okay, you're just crazy, as people usually say.
Right.
So just being able to, for me, the diagnosis was being able to just get a full sense of who I truly am. So then I was able to unlearn some things that I had learned and then relearn who I am and then relearn those different habits that I had. And it's still a struggle. It really is still a struggle.
Right.
But I understand it a little bit better.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. So the thing is ADHD. And then here recently, you found out about adverse childhood experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
what did you do? What was the light bulb that went off when you heard the lie? What was it? What was it that said, I need to look into this?
Just what was it? What was it?
But she was actually my surprise. She actually is episode 12. So check.
Oh,
Yeah, me and Miss Queenie have established this great relationship because honestly, when she did her live, it was so many people from
yes.
her live that reached out to me, and I appreciate that because it was like, wow, I might need to do a few more lives because
Yes.
I also you have one, I have 3 girls. I'm a single mom.
Bless
I'm
bless
an
you.
educator. So when you connected, I was like, oh, not only is she an educator, she's a single mom. She's just like me. And honestly, you have undiagnosed ADHD. I don't care what nobody say. I know for a fact. I had a professor come and put adult ADHD right in front of me, and I was so offended. How But I'm gonna tell you now, I'm just gonna stay undiagnosed because I do think I have it. And what's funny is I'm okay with it because back in the 90s, there was no such thing. It existed, but there was no special education diagnosis,
No.
yada yada yada. No. And
No.
here it is. I am nice and ripe and I'm good, but I know how to calm myself down. I know what to do because of that. So yes, listeners, I do have had it. No, so I get it. And what's interesting is I think that makes me relatable in the special education spec them. If you know what I mean, like I know, I can sense, I can do it. Everything from gifted and talented all the way down to severe profound. I have worked with every type of special education student due to that.
Oh, and that is so, so special too. We just need people that will, just love on all the kids.
That's what it is.
People are so quick to write kids off or say, this is just a behavior problem. And we have to, we got to pull back a couple more layers, especially with our kids that look like us, our Black kids. We're so quick to say, behavior problem. This is a behavior problem. This is that. This is that. And I think that's something that is something that stuck out to me in that live was we have to be willing to look deeper to see what's going on. What we have to look deeper to see what is it that is going on. I really wish when I was younger that there was somebody that wanted to maybe look a little bit deeper to say, okay, well, maybe she's not being traumatic. Maybe she's not being a hypochondriac, or she doesn't have Munchausen syndrome. That Munchausen syndrome, that really made me mad. So you think I have Munchausen syndrome? That just made me mad. And if you've ever seen the movie My Girl, that's what people would describe me as. Her, who always thought something was wrong with her. And now that I'm thinking about her, she had some aces.
she did have some aces. She sure did.
Living in a funeral home.
Traumatic. The poor baby. Jeez.
So it's, we got to pull back the layers, and just really see, what is going on. And just kind of, you see my ADHD going to work. Let me try to go back to what I was saying before about our black kids. We want to be so quick to write them off of being a behavior problem, or she's too fast, they too grown, they too this, but not really being able to sit down and see, well, what is going on? I had a 7th grade administrator tell my dad and stepmom, in middle school, they had so much to say about me, those teachers.
Of course. Look, I'm at an elementary and a middle school, by the way. Got it.
Yep, but middle school, that's when it peaked. And the administrator, she's just a busybody.
No.
She's just a busybody.
Yeah.
I'm like, Lord have mercy. That really stuck with me too when she called me a busybody. I was so mad. I was so mad.
I think people really don't know. You know what I mean? It's quick to put a stereotype on things, but they don't. And that's the reason why I continue to commend you, because you lead by example. You're going to eventually, you're in year number 9, catch on to those that have similar character traits as you. And so you're going to be able to know, here in the state of Texas, where teachers are allowed to recommend. We do the testing though. So you can recommend and say, I think something might be wrong with this student, which I like, but I don't like, because there's that stereotype, something wrong. It could just be the teacher didn't want to pay attention, but I'm glad that I'm in the position to say, okay, let me check first before we just kids off. So yes, I totally get it and I understand. But again, I commend you for being in a space to where you're saying, I have it, I teach, I live my life, I do what I do, and I have aces. It's not your fault that your mom was 15 going on 16 years old. It's not your fault that your dad was older, but you were raised with him. You know what I mean? Like, that's not your fault, but it is aces. And so I think when the light bulb went off and you said that, I thank you for just, reaching out and saying it, because that's more people that are informed about it and can actually do something about it.
Yeah.
So my question to you now is, now that you know about your ADHD and you know about your ACEs and it makes sense to you, have you done something different?
Have I done something different? Oh, that's good. That is good, because for a long time I was in such a woe is me kind of like mindset, and oh my goodness, just my life, things that have, and just woe is me. But I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, this has happened. I finally got good friend, I've gotten a good crew around me that says, all right, Tiana, what you gonna do about it now? Oh, like, so just realizing for me, I think what kept me from changing so much was I got so nervous to say that I was then kind of forgetting what happened, because I
Mm,
never want to forget I never want to forget, because that's what built me of who I am.
right.
Um, and just, going to therapy has worked wonders for me.
Wonderful.
Um, medication. I'm not ashamed to say that recently I've come to the conclusion. I said, you know what, is I just need help. And God put people here that researched and scientists to help with this stuff. And if you need some little extra help, you may need some extra help.
Right.
So medication, therapy, as you see, I put post-its and stuff all around, because I do really, I need reminders that, I am enough, I am good, those affirmations.
Very good.
Um, and then being able to just feel the feelings. I For so long I try to say, oh, I'm okay, nope, I'm fine, sweep it under the rug, and then the smallest thing happened and then I just blow up. So I'm learning to just kind of feel the feelings, um, and then realizing that I have a little girl here that is looking at my every move,
Mhm.
and that scares me sometimes. But looking at my every move, and I don't want her to go through kind of the mental things that I went through.
Right.
So I try to, I just, try to be better for her as well and
Wonderful.
make those little changes.
She's your motivation.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Part of it. Yes.
Yeah. Now, does she know that you have ADHD?
Well, she's only 4.
Oh, okay. No, she,
So, so I doubt that she knows that.
right.
As she gets older, I will talk to her about different struggles that I have,
Mhm.
because I see certain things in her right now that I'm like, oh my goodness. So just, as she gets older, being honest with her and letting her know, different struggles that I have. So
Mhm.
she doesn't feel, if it comes up, she doesn't feel alone in
Right.
it.
Right. And you'll know when the time is right. I didn't know she was 4. Yeah, she has plenty of
Yes.
yeah.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, I've had the ACEs discussion with my girls, so they're well aware of ACEs. And what's interesting is the one that promotes it the most is my 9-year-old. She goes to school and she say, "Mama, I think you need to come up to that school because these kids in ACEs, ugh, and they have parents that talk to their kid." And so she tells her friends on YouTube and make sure you all check out my mom's videos, and
Oh,
it's serious
nice.
for her. So you will know when the time is right to say that and share the information that you need with your children, especially so they can understand. I trust
Mhm.
me, I do it. I have to because I don't want to leave them in the dark. My situation with my mom had a child when she was 16 years old. But I don't like sharing her story because it was so hard for her to address her story to us.
Yeah.
Um, but she was young. She had me
Yeah.
when I was 20, but she had my brother when she was 15, 16 years old. So that relationship with them, I love their relationship because they have it and I love it so much. But it has taken a process for it to be where it is. So
Yes. Yes. And I love that you said, you don't want to share her story. And that's sometimes what keeps me being apprehensive sometimes about my story,
mhm,
because sometimes I do kind of feel like, oh, I don't want to like make nobody look bad, or I don't want to make somebody think that I don't love these people, because I
right,
do. I
right.
do. But then sometimes you have to realize at the end of the day, like your story is your story and your truth is your truth.
It is. It is. But you sharing, and what I've learned is me sharing my story. People that don't know me see Dr. Williams and just like, oh, Dr. Williams. Huh?
Yeah.
But it's the story behind Dr. Williams. You know what I mean? Like my whole adverse childhood experiences is the reason why I'm Dr. Williams. And
Yeah.
so I think that's what makes it realistic to everybody, because the people that grew up with me, they know. And they know, you know, household dysfunction was us. That's it. I mean, yeah. I mean, but I can't relate to the ones that are sexually abused. However, I can, because I understand that that's something that had to be hidden, that had to be, you know, people are not saying it. You know what I mean? So it's a lot. And I understand that ACEs is out there and it's been out there since 1998.
Yeah.
But what I also do understand that it's been tucked away, just like they tucking COVID-19 away. You see what I'm saying? It's like, let's not tuck these things away. Let's address what it is and do something about it.
Yep. And that's what I see, just in our community, our Black community. We just want to, nope, this is house business. We keep this in the house, or that, you know, that's nothing, or oh, just pray about it, you know. Even to this day, you know, I tell my grandmother, oh yeah, I'm going to therapy.
Yes.
You know, and they therapy, like they, you know, it's very foreign to them. And I'm very grateful that my family is starting to kind of become a little bit softer to things like that, and they still, you know, get on my nerves a little bit about it, but
like everybody else's aunts and uncles and grandparents.
Yeah. But you know, there comes a point when we have to realize, like I said, God, you know, he puts people on this earth to help. You know, he gives therapists things for a reason. So,
and I'm no therapist at all. I just want the education to be out there because it saved my life. I've watched it save other people. I've watched people, and it's what's interesting to me is I get to meet wonderful people like you that all I did was just introduce ACEs and explain it to people and let them know how it can help. And here you are.
Yes, and I really appreciate that. And it just makes me think that all educators need to know about ACEs, especially with the last couple of years that we have been through with this whole pandemic and the racial tension and all of this. At this point, at this point, every single child that walks through their school has ACEs. like every single one.
COVID-19.
That every single one. They have seen, you know, this COVID. They have had parents had COVID. They have had loved ones lost to COVID. And then the racial tensions that they see. They have seen people marching in the street. They have seen people gunned down in the streets by people who are supposed to protect.
Community violence. We have what we call expanded ACEs and we have pearls. And so I am sitting on whatever bench, whatever table, because I have to advocate for this. I have to make this something that once you know about it, I think the world can really change once you just know about it, become aware of it, and do something about it. Seriously, just do something about it. Know that ACEs is out there and it's real.
Yeah.
Everybody is so stuck on childhood trauma, or get over it. I'm saying find out about it, understand, and do something about that. You know what I mean? Like I am at the point where I'm trying my best to develop this relationship with my mom. Tori, why don't you do this? Because I honestly, you have to understand, I haven't been with her since I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
25. And so, whereas you all think I'm just going to come in and blend and we're going to live happily ever after, I have to learn her. I have to get to know who she is. And I'm doing that right now. And so I have to do that because I'm trying to set this example for these wonderful women that I'm trying to raise.
Yep. Exactly.
ACEs is what it is. And I'll be honest, if I didn't know about it, I don't know where I'll be right now. I don't know what I would do. And so that's what makes it powerful, because it's your story or somebody else's story that you know. We're just having this discussion right now about it.
Yeah. And while you were speaking, I started to think about when we hear like childhood trauma, sometimes people, they think it's something very extreme. So
Right.
then that's why they think that, oh, well, you didn't experience any trauma because, they think it's extreme. But when you say an adverse childhood experience, that is an experience that was less than ideal. That was an experience that may not have been normal. And it makes it a little bit easier to understand and a little bit easier to handle that, though maybe this kid didn't experience trauma per se, but there wasn't an adverse experience, in their life. If mom walked out, dad walked out, that was an adverse experience.
Mhm. You know about it. You better know about it. Because so how can we promote awareness? How can we do this? How can we promote awareness?
Just first being honest with ourselves, and being willing to, maybe we have to unlearn some stuff that great grandma and big mama that taught us, and just realize that they were also operating from adverse childhood experiences, and some of them was a lot of trauma too, so they were, they're just operating off of that, and they're just continuing it, and that's what we're pouring in, pouring in. And we have to be very honest with ourselves and say, you know what, yeah, I don't think this is working. Like, I don't think this works. And we just keep trying to do the same thing over and over again. I'm like, this it's not working. This doesn't work. So just one, being honest with ourselves, kind of looking back looking back within ourselves. And there's some things that I have a lot of, I guess, like repressed memories, or what do they call it? Just a lot of things I don't remember. And sometimes things just come to my mind. But we have to be willing to just sit and have those hard conversations sometimes. That's what my therapist told me. I just got to sit and maybe talk to my dad about some certain things and get like the real truth, like what happened with this, and then and just be open to hear what other people have to say, without the judgment. Sometimes people say something and we quick to judge, and I'm guilty of it sometimes. So that's all I have with it.
You know what to do. You do. So my last question, if you could add anything to the ACEs categories, what would you add?
Let me see. What would I add to the ACEs category?
Mm-hmm. So I'll be honest, for me, what I would add, and it's been added to the expanded ACEs, is community violence.
Yes. Yes.
Terrorism. These people coming into these schools with these guns, gun violence.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes. And the lockdown drills. Honestly, any kid, I think if you went through a lockdown drill, that is an adverse experience, because I've never, in my 32 years of living, or 31, I'll be 32 in September, I have never had to do a lockdown drill, or as many as our kids have to do now.
Yep. Yep.
And I see it in their eyes, and I see it every time we have a lockdown. Is this real? Like, they get so nervous. And unfortunately, we had a real lockdown. It was a couple days after the Texas events. So that just sent everything into a tizzy. But so that community violence is a good one. Is there something on there about kind of like the financial struggles?
Yeah. And I'll be honest, that's the way that they put community, it's in the expanded ACEs. It is not community violence, but just your community environment. So homelessness, that type of thing is what they're trying to add to it, or being in a neighborhood where poverty is there. So it's there. It's definitely there.
And that, that's something I would add. I think that's about it. I think everything else is kind of like else is in there. I just think about, you try so hard, even with my daughter. I see some adverse childhood experiences that she has. And I was just talking to my friend about it today, that, you really try so hard to avoid it, and you try so hard for it to not happen. But at the end of the day, no matter how hard you try, and that could, speak for some of our parents too. Our parents, at the end of the day, they tried as best as they could with what they had. And as I get older, I start to see that. Even with, I spent a lot of time angry with my mother, even after she passed. I had a lot of anger, but then I just think, and when I'm with my daughter, and I'm like, okay, my mom was 19 with a 3-year-old. I'm 31 with a 3-year-old. So, and I'm about to lose my mind. So it's like, so, you start to understand certain things that they did.
You do. And you grow from that. Okay. Well, let
Oh,
me tell you this. I think this was amazing because, again, everybody thinks it has to be sexual, or it has to be neglect. Your house function was real, and your 3 is there, and you've been doing something about it. Continue to put your child in extracurricular activity. I advocate for it. I believe it. Take her to Saturday classes, teach her piano, violin, whatever she's interested in. Just in her that way, I think you'll be fine. I love that you brought up the fact that she's going through some adverse childhood experiences, and I like that. Very good. But you also know that resilience is out there. It's key. You're an educator. You know what to do. So I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us to discuss this. Where can we find you if someone's interested in looking you up on social media?
So my Instagram is Tiana Tells It All. It is, if you're looking for Instagram that's like aesthetically pleasing and makes a lot of sense, that's not mine. But I do, I'm on there just about motherhood. I am on there just very open and honest about ADHD. I share things about my, teaching journeys. And then just, I call myself a part-time hot girl, but I'm hanging that up too. But so you may see that on there too. So Tiana Tells It All. I do in my business, it's Imaginative Minds. So if you were looking for tutoring, I do tutor virtually for students kindergarten through now 6th grade. So that's Imaginative Minds. And our website is imaginativeminds.online. And that's it. That's where you can find me.
An advocate for ADHD and
ACEs. Oh, well, look at that. Wow.
You got to add it to it because somebody's going to want to know why. And then that's where it comes. If you don't want to share, have them reach me.
Of course.
I can be found where? On Instagram. Where you found me.
Yes.
I will give you whatever information that you need in order to help you understand ACEs a lot more.
Thank you. Thank you. And so I am the wellness coordinator at my school. So I think that I am going to kind of put on a workshop about ACEs to make sure. I want to kind of do a little better this school year with my duties. This past school year was not the best.
But as a fellow educator, let me know. And I had a young man, I actually started a Twitter beef the other day, and it was so fun because we're talking about ACEs on Twitter and how it needs to be K through 12. So people are like, it needs to be K through 12. It needs to be K through 12. I will give you some resources if you need to. All you have to do is just really change out my name and you can have that information. I'll do that for you because you're a fellow educator. Anybody else? They got to pay me.
I definitely appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. So try to put on a workshop for either, I'll talk to my principal, maybe start with the teachers and then maybe with parents as well, just kind of, so, parents need help too, and when you know better, you do better. And if you don't know, you can't really you don't know what to do because like I said, we're just learning from, G-pop and them and Big Mama and going through the same cycles over and over again.
But I promise you, as soon as you start to have these discussions in your school and have them, then everybody else will do the same. So I thank you. I really do.
Well, thank you. And I'm so glad I joined that live. Something told me to come on. Something was like, let me just go ahead and look.
And you did. And I thank you so much. I do.
Thank you.
You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to shut it down and you all will see us in cyber world doing what we do by educating other people about ACEs. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms. I am Dr. VicTORIEus everywhere. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.